Work and learn. Meet Light Meet Max සක්‍රිය කර ගැනීමට MySLT app එකට log වෙන්න. Work and learn. Meet Light Meet Max සක්‍රිය කර ගැනීමට MySLT app එකට log වෙන්න.
Pairs Chuti Pack රුපියල් 37ක වාසියක්. දැන් රුපියල් 145යි.
හරිම සුළුයි.
Tonight on First at 9, this Monday the 12th of December 2022. Benefits for all. Sri Lanka mulls use of most favourable creditor clause during debt talks, says Bloomberg. Back in news, Sri Lanka's third international airport Palali resumes operations today. Aviation Minister meanwhile says budget airlines should be allowed.
We should not allow any monopolies to establish. Our problem is we have a monopoly here. We should go to the open sky policy.
New alliances? Sri Lanka Polujana Peramuna expresses willingness to join hands with the United National Party.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9 with Andrew Bernard. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
A very good evening and welcome to AdaDerana 24's English News. Now, in a top story for tonight, Bloomberg Financial News is reporting that Sri Lanka is looking at introducing what's known as the most favoured creditor clause. Now, this clause is introduced to ensure that all creditors will not delay engagements in debt restructuring to get a better deal over time. Including this new clause will reassure creditors apart from China that they too will be entitled to similar terms given to China. According to Bloomberg, Sri Lankan officials are considering using a special clause to expedite debt restructuring negotiations. This is because prolonged talks risk delaying a crucial bailout from the International Monetary Fund. Reports also said that Sri Lanka is considering introducing a most favoured creditor clause to clarify doubts among other creditors that China could be offered better terms. Such a clause, according to Bloomberg, would ensure the same terms are extended to all creditors, even if an agreement with them has been sealed before deal is reached with China. Further, the news outlet stated that the MFC clause also intends to simmer any expectations by Sri Lanka's creditors of getting a better deal by delaying their engagement in the debt restructuring process. State Minister of Finance Chayant Singh is speaking to Bloomberg regarding the inclusion as to whether the authorities were considering the inclusion of the MFC clause, stated that local authorities are working on getting financing assurances from all bilateral creditors. He said that Sri Lankan authorities will continue with their fair, comparable and transparent policy with all officials and private bilateral creditors. The report further elaborated that in response to a query on an MFC clause in Sri Lanka's debt negotiations, Senior Mission Chief of the IMF for Sri Lanka, Peter Brewer, said that the board approval for Sri Lanka's extended fund facility requires assurances from official bilateral creditors to restore debt sustainability and a good faith effort to reach a collaborative agreement with private creditors. If Sri Lanka introduces the MFC clause, it may be the first time it is used in debt restructuring involving China. The Sri Lankan aviation industry added a new route to its regional list when direct flights began today between Jaffna and Chennai. This was made possible after the Palali International Airport was made operational today. India's Alliance Air, who operated the first flight, will fly in times weekly between Palali and Chennai starting today. Ending nearly a 3-year hiatus, Sri Lanka's third international airport in Palali recommenced its operations this morning. A flight belonging to India's Alliance Air touched down in Sri Lanka from Chennai at 10:50 am as the first arrival following the recommence of the airport operations. According to Minister of Tourism Harin Fernando, Alliance Air will operate 4 flights on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday every week between Palali and Chennai. In a backdrop where Sri Lanka is expecting more tourists to the island, the authorities believe that more people will arrive at the Palali airport, which will help boost tourism in the northern and eastern provinces of the country. Addressing an event recently, Minister of Aviation Nimal Siripala de Silva announced the government's plan to develop the airport further to attract more tourists.
The Indian government has given some money to extend the runway, and if the flight comes regularly, my priority will be to ensure that we develop the runway in that airport so that bigger airplanes can come there.
Now, Minister of Ports, Shipping and Aviation Nimal Siripala de Silva says the government is committed to ensuring political stability to attract more tourists to the country. Addressing an event to celebrate International Civil Aviation Day, the Aviation Minister also said that the country should allow budget airlines to arrive, adding that the Sri Lankan airline industry should promote the open sky policy and not a monopoly.
An event to celebrate the 78th International Civil Aviation Day was held recently at the Civil Aviation Authority under the patronage of Subject Minister Nimal Siripala de Silva.
A lot of people ask, Sri Lanka is an island. Why can't you develop this to an aviation hub or a maritime hub? Just because that you are in an ocean and you are located in a geographically important place, that alone will not attract foreigners to come here. But unless there is political stability in a country, peace, and a conducive environment for the tourists and other people to come and work here and engage in business, just for the fact that our country is a beautiful and a small island, they will not come and invest here or come here as tourists. Same thing in the aviation industry also. The countries which have excelled well are the countries which have political stability. We are all talking about democracy, but democracy alone will not bring you the necessary economic plus points. But we are paying a very high price for democracy. We are being dictated by the foreigners how we should rule our country. So with Aragalaya and with all the protests in the roads, who will come to Sri Lanka? So therefore, we need political stability in this country in order to attract investment as well as to develop the airline and the aviation industry. We are committed first to ensure that political stability is established in Sri Lanka. That is the first thing we are doing now at the moment. Now, tourists are flowing, aviation fuel is available, airport is getting filled little by little. I think it will reach its maximum height in time to come. So we are confident. And as far as the Sri Lankan aviation service is concerned, we have provided safe airports and aviation sky for all the international airlines to fly in and fly out. Nobody has made any complaints about that. So we are very proud of that. Being a small nation, we have been able to provide all that guarantees that anybody entering our airspace is safe and you have airports to which you can land and take off without any problem. We want to develop this industry. We want to ensure that more and more aircraft will land in our airport. We must allow the budget airlines to come in. The people who have money, they can fly in the bigger airlines, but there should not be resistance to the budget airlines. Then the poor people in this country, if they want to go to Dubai, if they want to go to Singapore, they can go at a lower cost. We should not allow any monopolies to establish. Our problem is we have a monopoly here. We should go to the open sky policy and promote the budget airlines also.
Now, the General Secretary of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Sagara Kariyawasam, says that they are ready to join with the United National Party if it benefits the country and the people. Addressing a media briefing today at the party headquarters in Battaramulla, Kariyawasam added that the SLPP believes that political parties will not survive if they do not change policies based on the needs of the country and its people.
දැන් අද පුවත්පත් වාර්තාවක් එනවා ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොදු ජන පෙරමුණ සූදානම් වෙනවා කියලා එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයත් එක්ක සන්දානගත වීමට සාකච්ඡා ආරම්භ කරන්න.
ඒ සම්බන්ධයෙන් සාකච්ඡා කළා රට වෙනුවෙන් අපි දෙගොල්ලන්ට එකතු වෙලා ලොකු දෙයක් කරන්න පුළුවන් නම් අනිවාර්යෙන් අපි එකතු වෙනවා.
එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයත් එක්ක සන්දානගත වෙන්න තීන්දුවක් අරගෙනද තියෙන්නේ?
ඒ තීන්දුවක් ගන්න කලින් සාකච්ඡා කරන්න ඕනේ. ඒ කියන්නේ අපි පක්ෂයක් හැටියට හැමදාම විශ්වාසය තබපු යම්කිසි ප්‍රතිපත්ති මාලාවක් තියෙනවා, ක්‍රියාදාමයක් තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේම එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂය විශ්වාස කරපු ක්‍රියාදාමයක් තියෙනවා, ප්‍රතිපත්ති මාලාවක් තියෙනවා. ඉතින් මෙතෙන්දී අපි දෙගොල්ලන්ට මේ රටේ අනාගතය වෙනුවෙන් රටේ තරුණ පරපුර වෙනුවෙන් කොයි ස්ථානයකදී එකතු වෙන්න පුළුවන්ද කියන කාරණේ උඩ අපිට අනාගතයේදී සන්දානගත වීමේ හැකියාව තියෙනවා. ප්‍රතිපත්ති කියන දේ ජනතා අවශ්‍යතාවය සහ රටේ අවශ්‍යතාවය අනුව වෙනස් කරගත්තේ නැත්නම් දේශපාලන පක්ෂයකට පැවැත්මක් නැහැ. අපි එවැනි තැනකත් නැහැ. මං හිතන්නේ එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයත් එවැනි තැනක නැතුව ඇති. මේ රට වෙනුවෙන් රටේ අනාගතය වෙනුවෙන් සිදු කළ යුතු කාර්යභාරයන් අප දෙපාර්ශ්වයේම සතුව තියෙනවා. අපිට ඒ සම්බන්ධයෙන් රටට යහපත් තැනක් සඳහා එකඟතාවයකට එන්න පුළුවන් නම් අපි ඒ එකඟතාවයට එනවා.
Now, the Samgi Janabalavegi and the breakaway faction of the SLPP, who's in the opposition now, are seeking the support of the Supreme Court in order for the Election Commission to hold the local government elections as soon as possible. The General Secretary of the SJB, Parliamentarian Ranjit Madhuma Bandara, and the Chairperson of the SLPP, Professor G.L. Pires, resorted to filing separate petitions at the Supreme Court today. Meanwhile, the other petition has been filed by MPs Dayasiri Jayasekara, Lakshman Kiriyalla, Honorable Darshanayapa and M.A. Sumantiran. Members of the Election Commission and the Prime Minister have been named as respondents in the petitions. Now, the appeal court has fixed arguments on the 26th of January 2023 pertaining to the writ application filed against State Minister Derana English seeking to abolish her parliamentary seat. The order was issued by a two-member appellate court bench consisting of Justices Sobhita Rajakaruna and Dhammika Ganepola when the application was taken up today. Attorney at law Hafeel Fariz, who appeared on behalf of the petitioner Oshala Herath, and President's Counsel Farman Kazim, who appeared for the General Secretary of the SJB Ranjit Madhuma Bandara, who has been named as a respondent of the petition, requested the court to fix a date for the case to be heard as soon as possible, considering this an urgent matter. Welcome back. Now, the inclement climate conditions in the country has led to the death of over 1,600 livestock in the northern and eastern parts of the island so far. Due to this, the Commissioner of the Department of Local Government in the Eastern Provincial Council called for all slaughterhouses and meat shops to be closed in the province to prevent illegal transportation of the animals and slaughter of the livestock.
The number of livestock that died due to the drop in temperature in the northern and eastern provinces of the country continues to increase. Accordingly, 1,202 cows and 44 buffaloes had died in the recent past. The number of goats that had died due to the inclement weather conditions has been 404. 345 cows meanwhile remain in poor health conditions. As such, the Commissioner of the Department of Local Government in the Eastern Provincial Council has announced that all slaughterhouses and meat shops, excluding chicken shops, will remain closed for 1 week starting from today until the 18th of December as instructed by the Governor of the Eastern Province. The Governor stated that this directive was issued due to the possibility of illegal transportation of these animals to other districts, slaughtering of those cattle and sale at meat shops. Accordingly, he requested the owners of the livestock to take action and inform all respective local authorities and ask them to follow the instructions of the governor in this regard. Furthermore, he says that respective local authorities should take action to bury the dead cattle in a common place to avoid the conveyance of such dead.
Now, the president of the Rotary International, Jennifer E. Jones, has arrived in Sri Lanka on a 4-day visit. During a visit, which she is expected to participate in the Imagine Tour of Sri Lanka, which is scheduled to commence on the 4th of December 2022, will also hold discussions with President Ranil Wickremesinghe. She is expected to hand over consignment of urgently required medicines to the Ministry of Health, which is part of a $10 million dollar life project which is funded by Rotary Partnership with the UNICEF. Further, she will also present IT scholarships to selected youth as part of Rotary Sri Lanka's program to provide 500 IT scholarships from a campus in the Philippines together with the Sri Lankan Embassy in the Philippines. Now, in your business news, Sri Lankan shares ended today higher as the market was pushed by index-heavy counters and the overall market witnessed thin volumes ahead of the holiday season. The main all-share price index closed 0.21% higher at 8,862.67. The more liquid index S&P SL20 closed 0.07% or 1.96 points higher to 2,829.67. The market witnessed a turnover of 1.6 billion rupees, lower than this year's daily average turnover of 2.9 billion rupees. The market saw a net foreign outflow of 6.87 million rupees. In the meantime, the total net foreign inflows stood at 22 billion rupees so far for this year. Richard Pires, meanwhile, pulled the index rather down to close at 7.6% higher at 27 rupees. Lanka IOC gained 2.7% to close at 225 rupees and 3 cents, and Expo Lanka closed 1.5% up at 206 rupees and 3 cents a share. Now let's take a look at how the rupee fared against other major currencies in the world. The oil prices steady today after several weeks of declines as a weakening global economy offset supply woes stemming from a closure of key pipelines supplying the United States and Russia threats to cut output production.
Brent crude futures were down 15 cents at $75 and 95 cents a barrel, while US West Texas Intermediate crude was at $71 and 39 cents a barrel, up 37 cents. Last week, Brent and WTI fell to their lowest since December 2021 amid concerns that a possible global recession will impact oil demand. China, the world's biggest crude oil importer, continued to loosen its strict zero-COVID policy, though streets in the capital Beijing remained quiet and many businesses stayed shut over the weekend. Earlier today, queues formed outside fever clinics in the cities of Beijing and Wuhan, where COVID first emerged 3 years ago. Russian President Vladimir Putin said on Friday that Russia could cut production and would refuse to sell oil to any country that imposes a stupid price cap on Russian exports. Saudi Arabia's energy minister also said on Saturday that price cap measures had no clear results yet. The number of tankers waiting to pass through Istanbul's Bosphorus Strait fell today, showing an easing of the recent build-up in traffic.
And that's all the news we have for this evening. Join us again tomorrow for the very latest news at the very same time. Have a pleasant evening. Good night.
For news and information you can trust 24 hours a day, visit AdaDerana.lk.